I've been queer activist since I was 17. I grew up in a socially conservative rural town where people would shout homophobic slurs at me from the window of their pickup trucks. My brushes with anti-gay hatred intimidated me, but they also lit a fire in me. In my last year of high school, I resolved to do whatever I could to make a change before I graduated and left town for good. I felt like I had a duty to help other queer kids who were too scared to come out or who had feelings or self-hatred. I gave an impassioned speech about tolerance at school assembly, flyed every hallway and classroom, and started a group for LGBTQ Student and Alliance. Not long after, I was exposed to the ideas of Judith Butler, a bold and penetrating mix of third-wave feminism and queer theory. I saw truth in Butler's radical perspective on gender, and it felt liberating. My lifelong discomfort with being put in a box, a binary gender category, was vindicated. This is when my passion for feminism began in earnest. I put a bumper sticker on my car that said, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." I bought a subscription to Beach magazine. When it came time to graduate and move on to McGill, I eagerly enrolled in a class on feminist theory, as well as a class in sexual diversity students, the subject that will later become my minor. My world only kept expanding from there. In Montreal, I was exposed to a greater diversity of people and perspective than ever before. The same sort of transformation that had occurred in my mind about gender happened with race and disability. I learned about classism and capitalism at Rad Fresh, a workshop by the high-profile activist Jackie Syme gave me my first real introduction to anarchism. My first year at McGill was a whirlwind of new people and new revelations. In my second year, I dove in. I became heavily involved with a variety of queer, feminist, generally anti-oppressive, and radical leftist groups and organizations. In every combination thereof, I read books like Why Are Faggots So Afraid of Faggots? And The Calm Insurrection. I shouted my lungs out at protests. So many protests. Marching down the street carrying a sign that said, "Fuck capitalism," became my main form of exercise. That was the year of the tuition protest. There was a lot of excitement in the air. I thought maybe, just maybe, there will be a revolution. A girl can dream. 2012 was the year I hit peak radicalism. Things I did the year included occupying a campus building, body checking a security guard, getting rammed at low speed by a cop of mob, sitting through an entire SSMU General Assembly, and running from flashbang grenades hurled by police. I was nearly as hardcore as most of the people I knew. "I love how pepper spray clears out your sinuses," one said. Some participate in black blocks. At one point, a few spent the night in jail. Since then, my political worldview has steadily grown and evolved and refined itself. I no longer pine for revolution. I don't hate capitalism or the state as if those were the names of the people who killed my dog. My politics still lean to the left, just not quiet so far. And now, I view economic and political system with an engineer's eye, rather than in the stark colors of moral outrage. I am just as passionate about queer activism and feminism as I ever was. and aspired to be an ally to other anti-oppressive movements just as much as I ever did. I feel like I have a richer and more nuanced understanding of anti-oppressive politics and ethics than ever before. I've held on all the lessons that I've learned. I am grateful to many people who shared their insight with me. There is something dark and vaguely cultish about this particular brand of politics. I'll be graduating soon, and I've been thinking about many years in Montreal with both nostalgia and regret. Something has been nagging at me for a long time. There's something I need to say out loud to everyone before I leave. It's something that I've wanted to say for a long time, but I've struggled to find the right words. I need to tell people what was wrong with the activists I was engaged in and why I bailed out. I have many fond memories from the time, but all in all, it was the darkest chapter of my life. I used to endorse a particular brand of politics that is prevalent in McGill, in Montreal world widely. It is a fusion of a certain kind of anti-oppressive politics and a certain kind of radical leftist politics. This particular brand of politics begins with good intention and noble cause, but metastasizes into a nightmare. In general, the activists involved are the nicest, most conscious people you could hope to know, but at some point they took a wrong turn, and their devotion to social justice led them down a dark path. Having been on both sides of the glass, I think I can bring some painful but necessary truth to light. Important disclaimer: I passionately support anti-oppressive politics in general and have only good things to say about it. My current political worldview falls under the umbrella of leftism, although not radical leftism. I'm basically a social democrat who lives co-ops and believes in universal basic income and so-called capitalist road to communism. I agree with a lot of what the radical left has to say, but I disagree with a lot of what it has to say. I'm deeply against Marxism-Leninism and social anarchism, but I'm sympathetic to market socialism and direct democracy. I don't have any criticism for radical leftism in general, at least not here, not today. What I feel compelled to criticize is only one very special political phenomenon, one particular incarnation of radical leftists and anti-oppressive politics. There is something dark and vaguely cultish about this particular brand of politics. I've thought a lot about what exactly that is. I've been down for corporate futures that make it so disturbing. Dogmatism, groupthink, a crusader mentality, and anti-intellectualism. I'll go into detail about each one of these. The following is as much a confession as it is an admonishment. I will not mention a single sin that I have not been fully and damnably guilty of in my time. First, dogmatism. One way to define the difference between a regular belief and a sacred belief is that people who hold sacred beliefs that it is morally wrong for anyone to question those beliefs. If someone does question those beliefs, they're not just being stupid or even depraved. They're actively doing violence. They might as well be kicking a puppy. When people hold sacred beliefs, there is no disagreement without animosity. In this mindset, people who disagreed with my views were not just wrong, they were awful people. I watched what people said closely, scanning for objectionable content. Any infraction reflected badly on your character, and too many might put you on my blacklist. Calling them sacred beliefs is a nice way to put it. What I mean to say is that they are dogmas. Thinking this way quickly divides the world into in group and out group. believers and heathens, the righteous and the wrongous. I hate being around you people. A friend once texted me, infuriated with their liberal roommates. Members of the group are held to the same strictest standard. Every minor heresy inches you further away from the group. People are reluctant to say that anything is too radical for fear of being seen as too unradical. Conversely, showing your devotion to the cause earns you respect. Groupthink because the modus operandi. When I was part of the groups like this, everyone was on exactly the same page about the suspiciously large range of issues. Thinking this way quickly divides the world into an in-group and out-group believers and heartens, the righteous and the wrongous. I hate being around unread people. A friend once texted me infuriated with their liberated roommates. Members of the in-group are held to the same stringent standard. Every minor heresy inches you further away from the group. People are reluctant to say that anything is too radical for fear of being seen as too unradical conversely. Showing your revolution to the cause earns you respect. Groupthink become the modus operandi. When I was a part of a group like this, everyone was on exactly the same page about a suspiciously large range of issues. Internal disagreement was rare, and insular communities served as an incubator of extreme irrational view. High on their own supply, activists in the organization circle end up developing a crusader mentality, an extreme self-righteousness based on the conviction that they are doing the secular equivalent of God's work. It isn't about ego or elevating oneself. In fact, the activists I knew intended to denigrate ourselves more than anything. It was not about us. It was about the desperately needed work we were doing. It was about the people we were trying to help. The danger of the crusader mentality is that it turns the world in a battle between good and evil. Actions that would otherwise seem extreme and crazy become natural and expected. I did not think twice about doing a lot of things I would never do today. There is a lot to admire about the activists and be befriended. They have only the best intentions. They are selfless and dedicated to doing what they think is right, even at great personal sacrifice. Sadly, in this case, their conscience has betrayed them. My conscience betrayed me. It was only when I finally gave myself permission to be selfish, after months and months of grinding on despite being horrible burnout, that I eventually achieved the critical distance to critique my politic beliefs. Anti-intellectualism was the one phase of this worldwide I could never fully stomach. Anti-intellectualism is a pill I swallowed, but it got caught in my throat, and that will eventually save me. It comes in a few forms. Activists in these circles often express disdain for theory because they take theoretical issues to be indulged Sudoku puzzle far removed from the real issue on the ground. This is what led on one friend of mine to say, in anger and disbelief, people's lives are some theoretical issues. That same people also declared allegiance to a large number of theories about people's lives, which reveals something important. Almost everything we do depends on one theoretical belief or another, which range from simple to complex and from implicit to explicit. A theoretical issue is just a general or fundamental question about something that we find important enough to think about. Theoretical issues include ethical issues, issues of political philosophy, and issues about the ontological status of gender, race, and disability. Ultimately, it's hard to draw a clear line between theorizing and thinking in general. This theme for thinking is ludicrous, and no one will ever express it if they knew that's what they were doing, specifically on the radical left sides of things. One problem created by this anti-theoretical bent is that of rhetoric bluster. a lot of passionate railing against the world or some aspect of it without a clear, detailed, concrete alternative. There was a common excuse for this. As an activist friend wrote in an email, the present organization of society fatally impairs of our ability to imagine meaningful alternatives. As such constructive proposals will simply end up reproducing present relations. This claim is couched in theoretical language, but it is rational for not theorizing about political alternatives. For a long time, I accept this rationale. Then I realized that mere opposition to the status was not enough to distinguish us from nihilists. In the software industry, I have tapped a piece of software and never actually got released called vaporware. We should be wary of political vaporware. If somebody alternative to the status is nothing, or at least nothing very specific, then what are they even talking about? They are hawking political vaporware, giving us sales. Consider all other king, people who believe they are literary animals or magical creatures, and who use the concept and language of anti-oppressive politics to talk about themselves. I have no problem drawing my own conclusion about the lived experience of other king. Nobody is literally an honeybee or a dragon. We have to assess claims about oppression based on more than just what people say about themselves. If I took the idea of infallibility of word, I would have to trust dragons exist. That is why it's such an reliability guide. I am not going to let my disillusionment with my past activism discourage me from trying to do good in the future. If you find yourself similarly disillusioned, take heart. As long as you learn from your mistake, no one can blame you for trying to be a good person. Don't worry, we all get to back.